Hello and welcome to Greater Booking. This time my microphone is working because this is the third time I'm redoing this after not checking for 20 minutes twice in a row. Welcome to Greater Booking, the show where I go back in time with the shows that we have watched together on Everything Great About, and I will go back and book them differently, maybe even better than the WWF have done themselves. And so today, we are going to start with everything happening since the first episode of Raw, all the way until WrestleMania IX. So this is going to be done with the help of a game that I have called Pro Wrestling Sim. This is a game where I can just take a database that someone has made and just copy myself into it and just make the save with the real life things that have not happened, but the shows that exist and the characters that also exist. So Pro Wrestling Sim is a good game. I will say I like it quite a bit, and I have played it for over 200 hours, even creating my own database, which is not even near completion at all because I go way too hard into things. Now with that said, let's get into the booking, shall we? And so first of all, we're going to make a baseline here of what we are booking. I am giving you the info from the Raw shows and the pay-per-views. And this is going to be structured around every single pay-per-view that we make. I'm going to give you all the feuds, all the matches that are happening, and all the feuds that are happening with those matches, if there are any feuds, because sometimes matches are happening because they happen. So at that point, when that is going to be done, I'm going to go through the card one by one, and we're going to talk about everything that has happened on those shows and the rivalries themselves. It is not going to be as detailed as, for example, a Adam Blampier video, because there's a lot that's going to be involved in there, and so there you go. Let's get into it. So, first of all, is going to be all the booking from the first Raw to the Royal Rumble. So this is going to be 3 shows, but the feud is going to continue a little bit afterwards. You're going to see. There is a feud that will. So we're going to go back into January just to show you the shows and how they happen. So we have the first Monday Night Raw, the second Monday Night Raw, and then there are some superstars, but I just have those on the game, and I just play the game myself, so that's why those are in. Same thing for Headlock on Hunger. I did make a card, but this is inconsequential, It's completely inconsequential to what has happened in real life. You can see there's even Sean Waldman in there, which, no. The 1-2-3 Kid will actually be in the WWF starting in May, so nothing major is going to happen with the booking with the 1-2-3 Kid or Sean Waltman from now to that time. This is the one constraint that I'm giving myself. Anyone that is not in the WWF at that point, we're not counting them. I'm going to make shows for them myself in the game just to give them a bit of popularity and so that the money keeps rolling and everything. That's for me, that's not for you. It's fine. For you in the booking, I am using the people that we have in the WWF or in its associated territories with it, because there are 2. There is the USWA, and the second is the SMW, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which I don't think is 100% associated at that point, but at the same time they do take Adam Bomb in there, so I mean that does count, doesn't it? Also Brian Armstrong will get there at some point, so there are some people that will join from SMW as well. So there you go. With that said, let's get into it. So the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble has not that many matches on my card. Just like the real thing, it is going to be, of course, over an hour for the Rumble, and the rest are the other matches, which are counted as 4 other matches. The first one is... Actually, no, 3. Wait, I just counted. There's only 3 other matches. Yeah, there is only 3. So the first match is HBK versus Jannetty, because this should have still been the feud going on, and at the same time, things that are happening before my booking, not really going to be that touched, and so everything at the Rumble is still the feuds that you do know at that point. And also because, Marty Jannetty versus Shawn Michaels is one that should have happened anyway, and is happening, and so that's great. And so, there you go. HBK still retains the title at the Rumble. However, there is one pretty big change that I want to talk about, and it's in the involvement of Sherry. So Sherry is going to have a segment on Raw before giving her allegiance away as to whether or not she would be on one corner or the other. Now, there are two ways you can go at this, and either one is fine. You can either go the way of her lying and giving the allegiance to Shawn Michaels for then giving a turn at the Rumble itself, or you can do the opposite, which would make more sense for the story. You would make Sherry go with Jannetty the show before, and that would actually give you a benefit of having a good pop for Sherry at the Rumble itself, because the allegiance would be clearer. Whereas at the show itself here, the allegiance was a bit black and white. You didn't know where she would go with, who she would go with exactly, you know, because Shawn Michaels was the one that pushed her, but the one that did the mirror shot was still Jannetty. So, you know, either way, there are things that could be a bit bad about that. You don't know which way it's going to go at that point, and that's not really the thing that I would want here. I think it would be better if you just really just laid it there and said that Sherry is going with one or the other. Now, if you go with Shawn Michaels, it would make not that much sense to have Shawn Michaels retain the title then, because, well, the shock of the turn would then make it much better if Shawn Michaels, you know, doesn't see it coming and then gets blindsided because of his arrogance. That story would work better with Jannetty winning, because if you then give Sherry the turn, but then still put it in a way that Shawn Michaels wins, that's a bit weird, isn't it? You see the problem, right? That, well, it takes the wind out of the sails of the Sherry turn completely. Whereas here, if you actually give her the way immediately to Jannetty, and then you just give the win out on a botch interference to Michaels, you know, gives a bit of agency to Michaels to know where it was coming anyway, so there you go. But the main problem is that Sherry is not going to hang around afterwards, so it's a bit weird to push her in this position, you know. And so that's why I'm going to win to Shawn Michaels, with Sherry aligning herself the week prior, or basically 6 days prior, to Jannetty. And now let's move on to the angle afterwards, where you try to keep it going a little bit between the two. Marty Jannetty is going to still be in the WWF in my booking, because, well, the match should be better in this way as well, because it's fantasy booking. So there you go, it's fantasy booking. I do the booking that I want, I do the booking that feels the best for me, and in a way, Marty Jannetty is still in the WWF. He will come back in May, like he left for 4 months. I'm not giving him anything substantial. I'm not even giving him a match at Mania on the main card. I think I gave him a pre-show match. But there you go. It's we're not doing pre-shows, by the way. Just putting that out there, because I just said pre-shows. We're not doing pre-shows. It's just for getting the level up on the wrestlers for the game. There you go. It's just not for you guys. Anyway, yeah, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels do have an angle, do have their brawl afterwards at the end of the match and everything. But again, nothing substantial, because in the end, well, there you go. It's just there. Now, the second match is going to be for the World Tag Team Championship. It's going to be Money Inc. against the Bushwhackers. This is a piss break match, and one that is there just because I wanted to have my tag team champions on the card as champions. I don't want them on the Rumble. That doesn't really make much sense. The problem is that I do want all of their big challengers to be at the Rumble. So, because it would be more interesting than to have the Bushwhackers in the Rumble again. And so that's why I gave this match. It's basically a squash. I would want that to be a squash, with the Bushwhackers getting in pretty much nothing. And then we have the WWF World Heavyweight Championship match between Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. This one is the same story, basically. It was very limited, but it was also very short, which is why it was very limited. It is a story, basically, of arrogance against humility, or, you know, technique against brawling, in a way, if you want to talk about that as well. Where Razor is still a very good wrestler, by the way, but he is more towards the slugging and brawling type, and then Bret Hart is much more technical, even if he can tussle with the best of them, as shown in 1996 and 1997, you'll see, in a few years. But still, this match is basically the same, the layout is the same. I wouldn't change too many things in it, or the build itself, because it didn't need to have much going for it. Razor Ramon was still very new. He debuted in May, if I remember correctly, and his first match was later than that. But he was already established enough to give him that title push, absolutely. But of course, don't make him have a win. However, this is also just a placeholder for Bret Hart at that point, and at the same time, it's not that much of a problem. The big part of the feud that I will keep, though, is the Razor Ramon assault on Owen Hart, where he got creamed. Yeah, you know that, right? But yeah, so Razor Ramon does attack Owen Hart and puts Owen on the shelf for a few weeks. And actually, his return is here at the Royal Rumble. The one thing I will change in the match itself is I will give Razor Ramon a few attempts at the Razor's Edge, which is something that hasn't happened in the match itself in real life. The Razor's Edge is supposed to be a very protected move, and a move that, if you take it completely, you should be down. You should be down for the count. The Razor's Edge was that good of a move at that time. However, he never even attempted it, if I remember correctly, or once at most in the match itself, which kind of undersells it. And so I would have Bret Hart finding ways, different ways, to actually get out of the hold. And actually the main one, the reason I want to do this is because I want to see someone do a head scissors on the Razor's Edge itself, you know? Because I think on the way down, you have enough leverage that you can actually try and push your body under and then make him roll. I don't know if you will. That's the bit of a problem with Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. I don't know if he can do that with these two. With Razor, 100% he's going to be down for it. I don't know if Bret Hart is going to be able, technically, to do it. It's still a head scissors, so I think he can do that. It's not that much of a problem, right? We will see. But I hope that this is what the match can give you in this way. And of course, the finish is still the sharpshooter getting applied and finishing the match 100%. And then the Royal Rumble match itself. Let's get into it. So, I will not do every single entrant. This is not going to be the booking for that. If you want that, I'm going to make a separate video with only rebooking entirely the 1993 Rumble, but that's not what we're going to do here. I'm going to just look at the main points of the match. So first, Ric Flair enters number 1, Bob Backlund enters number 2. I don't want to do a Ric Flair perfect immediately in the match, because it kind of undersells also the point of random entrance, so yeah, not really. So, 1, Ric Flair, 2, Backlund, that's fine, that was a good start, and actually, Backlund, I'm not gonna give him 61 minutes. That's the main thing that I'm not gonna give him. I'm not giving him that time. I'm gonna give him about 20-30 minutes, probably around 30 to 34 minutes is what I really am thinking about. But mainly, he's here to give a bit of a nostalgia. He's been here since 1992, actually doing matches again, Bob Backlund, but you know, he doesn't fit in the WWF in 93. But still, he's there, so you gotta use him, and this is the way to do it. I was okay with his implementation in the match itself, because he actually gets good pops at the end of it. But yeah, nah, come on. There are way better choices. But still, so the first beats of the match are going to be the same as the one in real life, just with some character changes, because of course there's no DiBiase. And so there you go. So Ric Flair lasts until number 5. At that point, number 5 or number 6, Mr. Perfect enters. And so Mr. Perfect is going to, of course, go immediately after Ric Flair. Because, this is something we have not talked about, because this is the only real feud going on into the Royal Rumble match. At that match, of course, Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect are feuding at that point for a little bit, since Survivor Series, actually. And so, how do you build that up for all the way until Ric Flair leaves the WWF? You do the same thing as in real life, but just push it to 11. You just crank it up even more, so that the heat gets multiplied even more. And so, what do you do with that? That's easy. You just do more angles. And so on the first Raw, I actually gave an angle to Flair on a squash match, but then calling out Perfect. And that's how you get the feud started into Monday Night Raw. And then, on the second episode, you do basically the same beats, the exact same beats that have happened in real life, just crank it up to 11. And so what do? You make Ric Flair attack Perfect during his match, but you make them brawl even after the match, and then you make Perfect chase after Flair, so that, again, more heat gets developed, even more. And then after that, during the Ric Flair match, you still have Perfect interfere, and there you go. That's how you build this. That's how you do it. Seriously, only thing that you had to do with this one is crank it up even more, because it was very good, and it will lead to the best thing going on in Raw for the 10 shows that we have watched so far. Absolutely. But that's going to be after the Rumble, and you'll see. So yes, Perfect enters, and no, Ric Flair does not get eliminated immediately. Actually, he gets eliminated only at number 15. 15 to 16, around that. And at that point, right after Ric Flair's elimination, Giant Gonzalez enters. That's right. Now, there aren't that many people that have been eliminated in the ring yet, and so you put Giant Gonzalez in as that new invading force, this guy that is massive, and you make him eliminate some people. This is the way to use a giant that is immobile as well. You just make him eliminate people that are big as well if you want. But, you know, heel, face, don't matter. It's just he eliminates people. He just, woo, bye-bye. Bye-bye. And with actually, his voice was very deep. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. My voice is not gonna fucking live through that. But anyway, and so that stays for about 4 to 5 entries. So at number 20-ish, The Undertaker shows up. And The Undertaker eliminates Giant Gonzalez from the match on his own with jumping clothesline and then just throwing him out. You do that, you're gonna give The Undertaker a massive pop off of that. And Giant Gonzalez is there. There you go. He's there. I'm not. Nope. And so this leads to the final 10. The final 10 is going to have a few weird names. So first of all, I also didn't talk about someone, and I'm sorry, I always forget about him. Owen Hart. You see him down here, right? Well, Owen Hart is actually going to be part of the match. He's going to be banged up. He's going to be taped at either the ribs or an arm or whatever. I would prefer ribs. And so, with that, you said the fact that Razor Ramon still hurt Owen, but at the same time that this match is important enough that people will come in injured, because this is the first Royal Rumble where you have the title shot at Mania up for grabs, which is great. It's a fantastic gimmick. And so there you go. So you really put the fact that this is a thing that is big enough so that people will even come in injured. And so then El Gigante, well, Giant Gonzalez does eliminate Owen. And so the final 10 will actually also have a few names that are not from the WWF. Lawler is from the WWF at that point. But it will also have Brian Christopher and Eddie Gilbert. Those are two names that are associated normally with them because they're from the USWA. Else I couldn't have actually picked them. But there you go. And I think that this is, again, cross-promotion, but also just filling in numbers of a very anemic WWF roster. And so I think that Brian Christopher is going to be a long stretch, but it's just because, you know, father and son, I wanted to have both of them in the ring at the same time at some point, so there you go. And then Eddie Gilbert is there because he is a pretty good wrestler and also has a cult following at that point, so there you go. I think sometimes some people could have a bit of a kick off of that. Still, though, during the match, those don't make really that much of an impact anyway. The main ones that do make an impact are those 5, which are going to be the final 5. But first of all, before talking about that final 5, let's talk about Lex Luger. So Lex Luger is in that match, absolutely. Now, normally, if I remember correctly, he had a 1-year non-compete with WCW because his contract for wrestling was not up. However, his contract for other involvements was up for grabs and he could do whatever he wants. So that's why he went to the WBF. Well, yeah, World Bodybuilding Federation, that's what it was, right? And so he did that, okay, sure. And then he got injured, his arm got fucked. He almost got amputated, so, you know, that was pretty bad. But he did have his steel plate implanted into his arm, you know, he did have that. And so that leads, of course, to him having the bionic elbow. And you make him enter the fucking Royal Rumble. Of course you do. Instead of giving him just a small angle, this is something that has been tried and tested before, and at a Rumble, debuting is not something that has been done too much. But, like, the Ringmaster kind of debuted there. You know, he didn't really debut, but he almost debuted, so that kind of counts. But, of course, it could have gone better for him. He did slip and actually didn't come until the final, up to the final 3, which he was supposed to. That's how it goes sometimes, unfortunately. But still, I would have Luger actually be in this match and be in the final 5 of Yokozuna, Undertaker, Perfect, Luger, and Savage. That is my final 5. And then you have Luger go after Perfect, of course, And during that final 5, Perfect gets thrown over the top, stays on the apron. Boom! Bionic elbow from Luger. Completely knocks out Perfect, goes down, and no one knows what has happened. This is just a forearm, you know, it's just a fucking bang, and then he's down. Like, what the hell happened? What is this move? And so already you start developing this as a very dangerous move and something that is not legal, really, but it is legal, so kind of weird. And so my final 4 is 2 face, 2 heels. There you go. Undertaker, Savage against Yokozuna and Luger. And the Undertaker is the first one that drops. That's right. So what happens? Well, Yokozuna and Undertaker duke it out, and the Undertaker does actually take down Yokozuna for the first time. This is going to be a choke slam or a jumping clothesline. You choose. We already did this jumping clothesline for Gonzalez, so maybe just do the choke slam if you can. I mean, Yokozuna probably just choke slams himself, you know. But he can do that. He's pretty big, but he can definitely do that. He's very agile. In 93, he's agile. Not much later, though. But there you go. So Undertaker does take him down. And so after that, you're going to be like, oh, he's going to take him out. Well, not really. Because Yokozuna reaches into his pants, takes some salt, throws it into Undertaker's face, blinds him, and then eliminates him with a clothesline. And takes him down. Takes him out of the match. This will lead to a feud between the two. Absolutely. A feud between Yokozuna and The Undertaker, and it doesn't need any bells and whistles. It is just for a WrestleMania match, and it is just a revenge from The Undertaker to Yokozuna. Voila. That's it. Now, we already have matches that are going to happen between the two, but of course, I'm going to rebook everything anyway, so don't worry about those. Still, there you go. So Yokozuna does eliminate The Undertaker, and meanwhile, Luger goes down from Savage in the one-on-one as well. He does duck the elbow, because, you know, he saw what happened, so he ducks the elbow, and then he eliminates Luger when he was on the apron right after. And that leads to the one-on-one between Randy Savage and Yokozuna. Now, in real life, of course, Yokozuna wins that and takes him up, deadlifts him over the top rope, which, no, he didn't, it's just that Savage jumped. But anyway, kayfabe. But still, no, that's not what's gonna happen. Have you heard the pop when he came back? Have you heard the pop when he entered the Rumble? This is Savage. This is Savage's win. He wins this, 100%. There is no other way to go at this. Savage wins the Royal Rumble and eliminates Yokozuna at the end. And there you go. So the match for Mania is Bret Hart versus Randy Savage. This leads then to the third Raw, which is going to be basically us starting to set up the match here with an interview from Randy Savage from Vince McMahon to Randy Savage, talking about the match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania. And you, of course, build up the loser leaves match at the end of that show, which is not going to be changed at all. I'm not going to change the match. It was basically what it needed to be, and it was great. And so there you go. This is the card for the Rumble and the show right after the Rumble. And now, let's move on to WrestleMania and the booking of that show. So first of all, as I talked about, not going to talk about the pre-show bouts. However, we're going to talk about the first match. This is Shawn Michaels against Tatanka. We're not really going to do too much to save this match, right? It's not going to take too much. What it is taking is a change in booking. That's basically it. And that change in booking is easy to make. Very easy to make. Basically, make them give a damn. That's it. And so you make a story of arrogance against humility. 100% you can do that. Shawn Michaels is way too arrogant around that time, and he can definitely play the part. He even changed his music. You know, he changed his music to having the lyrics be sang by him instead of by Sherry, so fits his character very well as well. And Tatanka, he's the humility. He is a Native American, and you can make him be portrayed as very humble, and have a family heirloom that he carries around before his matches. And for building the feud, what you do is you make HBK destroy that family heirloom. That gives agency to Tatanka to attack Shawn Michaels for the title. Instead of just being like, oh, I'm pretty good, so let's go for the title. You know, it's nice, let's go for it now. No, instead give him agency. Give him something that pushes him to want to attack, to want to get in that match. And that's how you do it. And that's what we're going to do. And so, during the match, here's how the layout should be. You should have a focused Tatanka at the beginning of it. A Tatanka that really goes on the offensive, gets HBK in a corner, and everything like that. However, during the match, push him more and more towards being aggressive because of HBK doing threats and, you know, menacing and being menacing towards his heritage. And slowly Tatanka starts to become a little bit more angry, and that's going to push this towards the breaking point of Tatanka. And what it leads to is not a DQ finish. That's not what we're doing. No, we're doing just a reversal on the Samoan drop. You know, instead of him being able to drop, crucifix pin from Michaels, 1, 2, 3, and he goes out of the ring and keeps his title, because Shawn Michaels should keep his title 100%. That is the right call. However, the finish and the booking and normally still gives agency to Tatanka to continue feuding with Michaels afterwards. Yes, he loses his undefeated streak. Is that a problem, though? I don't see that as much as a problem right now, you know? That's my deal, maybe? But anyway, that is the first match on WrestleMania. The second match is a bit of a throwaway. However, I'm going to give a reason for it. This is Doink against El Matador, Tito Santana. And so that match is going to be for nothing. Not that much. But Tito is, for me, a better choice than Crush is. And the reason for that is that Crush is very green. And I don't think he should have been a part of the WrestleMania card. He's not even in the pre-show for me. No, for me right here, this is what should be the match. Then again, you can make an argument for still being Crush, but having better booking. And for me, Doink still definitely gets the win, because Matt Bourne is that good that he should get the win, 100%. But at the same time, you know, maybe less hijinks. What I would do is just the loaded arm. You don't need more than that. You just bump the referee, loaded arm, hit Tito, and win the match like that. That's it. You know, you don't need much more than that. You don't. And so Doink gets that second match. And that leads us to the third match, which is the Steiners against Money Inc. Now, this match is, of course, one that will happen later on in the year, especially at the SummerSlam Spectacular, with a pretty good steel cage match with an inventive enough finish. I did like the finish of that match. If you haven't seen it, it is free, actually, in the WWE Vault, so you can actually check it out if you want on YouTube. But still, there you go. So the match is going to be happening at WrestleMania. And yes, Money Inc. are not facing Hulk Hogan. What is happening there? Well, you'll see. This is actually the most involved part of the booking that I have done, and the one that changes someone's character the most. You'll see. But still, Jimmy Hart does stay with Money Inc., and he will actually be integral to actually getting the win over the Steiners here in this match. So, the build to this match is going to be as follows. So, Money Inc. are going to see the Steiners as a threat. And so, what is going on with them is, well, Money Inc. does what they do best. They try to buy one of the Steiners. And so they try to buy Rick, which is seen as more of a simpleton than Steiner at that point, normally. Or even if, you know, he is seen that way, but of course it's just his character. A bit of a caricature to one of those guys. But anyway, there you go. This is basically what is going to be the impetus to try and give a bit of doubt between both men. And so, in the weeks leading to WrestleMania, have the Steiners win their match, but by being individuals more than being a team, and actually whenever they actually try to make a move together, make them have a botch or something, you know, make them have intentional misses during the moves, because then you will create a story of uncertainty. But make that not something that is important at Mania, because the Steiners are understanding that this is a more important issue than their own bickering right now at this point. Both men are going to trust each other to the death, because that's what you should do if you want to win a title. You should trust each other. And so this is trust clashing against Money Inc. here. But Money Inc. cheats to win, and so they use the megaphone to get the win against the Steiners during this match. I think this is a moment, yes, where Money Inc. should be cemented still as big heels, and they should stay as a top act in the top of the card as tag team champions. But still, this keeps the Steiners going for it. Make the match very even, but even towards the Steiners a bit more. Make them hit a Frankensteiner. Make them hit the Bulldog as well if you want. You can do a lot with this match. Maybe you hit the Bulldog and you then get the megaphone hit on the pin. You can do that. That works. And there you go. So this is 3 matches in. So far, we have HBK against Tatanka with 2 pre-show, but we're not counting those. So HBK versus Tatanka. We have Doink against El Matador. And we have the Tag Team Championship match with the Steiners and Money Inc. with Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Shyster winning the match. And yes, you have seen this right. This is 3 heels in a row winning the match. And now this leads to this. Hulk Hogan versus Brutus Beefcake. Now this is my most ambitious part of this booking, and probably my most controversial one, I'm gonna guess. We are booking both men together in a match. How do you build this? Well, in the weeks leading to Mania, Brutus Beefcake comes back, just like he did in real life. I think it was on the 1st of February, or the one after. What that does is give him the promo that he needs. And that promo is not going to be a promo of him thanking God and Hulk Hogan. Instead, you do it the opposite. Instead, you make Brutus Beefcake mad because Hulk Hogan never checked in on him during his stay in the hospital after his accident. You make that correctly, you make both men sell it correctly, I think this could be pretty heated as well. And so, I think this is a story where Hulk Hogan has to play his part very well to not be unsympathetic as well. Because if you don't, you're gonna be the heel. 100% you're going to be. Because at that point, Brutus has a point, right? If you don't show up to a friend in need, who are you? Who are you to this guy? But then, what you do is have Hogan come out the week after, and you disprove everything. You show even proof that he has sent letter after letter trying to reach him, trying to come to the hospital to get to him as well, but always being denied entry to the hospital. And for some reason, there are things that just don't want him to reach it. They don't want him to reach Brutus. And make him say that he is sorry for not having been there. If you do that correctly, you're going to build some sympathy for both men and the fact that they're going to have to feud for this. Because Brutus Beefcake, in his little act of craziness here, he does ask for a match at WrestleMania against Hogan to settle things up here, and saying that he will hurt Hogan and disfigure him more than he was at the hospital. Now, do you see why this is ambitious? Because again, you have to make this correctly. However, at the same time, that element of, oh, wait, there is... Why are the letters not reaching? You know, is there someone at play in there? And this is a whodunit. I'm creating a whodunit as well through this. How do I do it? Well, we'll see, right? We'll see. I cannot tell you yet, because this is not going to be for this booking, but for the next one. So, we'll see. I'm going to leave this up a little bit more. But during the match between Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake, this is a bout that should go about 13 to 15 minutes at most. But it is also going to be elevated because of color. That's right. Because this is a feud between two brothers turned enemies of a bad thing that has happened between them. And so what you do with that is just give them color. You make Hulk Hogan bleed. bleed for his sins. And during the match, you make him say, "I'm sorry," which takes Brutus Beefcake out of the match for a little bit. Makes Hulk Hogan come back into it, hit the boot and the leg drop for the win, because Hulk Hogan should still win the match, of course. But then also, it should still be the turn that Beefcake will get also back to the face. Back to being a face. Because he got it out of his system. Hulk Hogan now really does not want him any harm. He actually says that he is sorry, that he wanted to reach out as much as he wanted. And now the fog has cleared from Brutus Beefcake's head. And there you go. And so they get back into friendly terms. They hug it out after the match and everything. So that's how I would build the Hogan against Beefcake match. I would give Hogan a few matches on TV as well beforehand, because he definitely needed it. He was not ready to come back in the match. Absolutely. But again, the main problem with that is that he had a fixed number of commitments with the WWF, so you have a very absentee WWF champion if you actually put him in the title, which I don't. So there you go. But now, next match is my second most ambitious one. It is Owen Hart versus Razor Ramon. Is this a match that would have ever happened in 1993 in the WWF? No. I am very certain no, it would not have. However, the building block was here. So why do I put Owen Hart back at the Rumble after his injury? Because it shows that he got injured by Razor Ramon. Ah, by Razor, okay. Wait, can we give Owen Hart some agency by wanting to fight Razor Ramon for the attack that he has sustained? Could we do that? The answer is yes, why can't we? And so, this gives Owen Hart something to do. And also Razor Ramon. And mostly this is a feud based around respect. Because Owen Hart feels like he is disrespected by Razor Ramon, because Razor Ramon now sees him as underneath him. Someone that he has taken down, and now, why does it matter? Who are you, Chico? Who are you? And so, it doesn't matter. He views him as beneath him. But Owen Hart interrupts matches from Razor Ramon and pushes him into losses. Into a loss, actually, against the Jobber at one point as well. And so, you make Razor Ramon get infuriated against Owen Hart. And so, it pushes him to take that match, take the offer of the match at WrestleMania. And this leads to this match. During the match, Owen Hart and Razor Ramon have a very back and forth affair. I want it to be Razor dominating, but Owen Hart showing that he can definitely hang in there. Guys, we are in 1993. Owen Hart went in a massive tour in 1990 and 1991 of NJPW with the Stampede crew. He even wrestled. So he wrestled. Let me do this off the bat right here. I'm not going to check any sources, but if I remember correctly, he wrestled Muta, Benoit, of course. Does he wrestle Genichiro Tenryu? I think he does, but I'm not sure if he does. Because I think he was at World of Sport. He was at Super World of Sports, so I don't think that was right. But there were many more opponents that he actually faced anyway. And, of course, Jushin Thunder Liger, with his very now famous bout, actually, in 91. And so there are many, many, many matches that Owen Hart has had that are brilliant during that time. And so in the ring, he definitely had it. And he was also a much more entertaining character than Bret Hart. That's true. That's just truth. And so Owen Hart is definitely deserving of a spot at a WrestleMania again, because again, he was at WrestleMania 5 as a Blue Blazer against Perfect, but there he is wrestling as himself, Owen Hart, going against Razor Ramon, fighting for himself, not for his brother or anything. No, he's fighting for himself. His brother is nothing here in this feud. This is all about Owen Hart. He got attacked because of Bret Hart, actually, in a way. But don't make him go heel at all for that, okay? No. You just go after Razor, because he is the assailant. It's not because, of Bret Hart. Owen Hart should have never been a casualty in that, but he became one, and so you give him agency to respond to that. And there you go. This is how you do it. However, Razor Ramon does get the win. Of course, Razor Ramon is much more established at that point, but here are two things. Number one, Razor should still struggle to put in the Razor's Edge. 100%. You should throw in the same attempted counter from Owen that Bret Hart did. However, at the same time, make Razor Ramon struggle, but still push him into it, even with, the legs coming in around. You push him back and then push him down afterwards. No head scissor takedown this time, and it goes into the Razor's Edge to get the win, of course, because Razor's Edge should be that protected. However, at the end of the match, after a pretty big battle, I think I gave this 18 minutes in my booking. After a pretty big battle, you have Razor respecting Owen Hart for this match. Absolutely, you do that. You raise his hand after the victory and everything. Because Razor Ramon should not be healed, by the way, for very long. He should not be healed for very long. Because he should go after someone. But there you go. So this is Owen Hart against Razor Ramon. Next match, then, is The Undertaker against Yokozuna. There isn't much more of the feud that I talked about, the thing about the salt in the eyes at the Rumble. Other than that, it's just a feud with The Undertaker, so you do whatever you want with it, However, still do have segments with both men involved at the same time. I actually even pushed a 6-man tag, pitting Undertaker, Bret Hart and Savage against Yokozuna, Razor Ramon, and Luger, if I remember correctly. And so you build that up as a pretty big main event for Raw, This is a 6-man tag with 6 main eventers, basically. And there you go. That's how you give a big match feel to one of those things. And The Undertaker against Yokozuna is going to be a big match as well. And so, how does this go? Well, I think that The Undertaker should definitely win, because of course we're at Mania, and the streak should be immortal. It should never leave. The streak should be 100% something that never, ever goes down. Yokozuna should still hit a Banzai drop, but The Undertaker should kick out 100%, because it's The Undertaker, and he's going to kick out of it. And there you go. That's how you're going to book it. It's not that big, it's not that involved of a booking, but it is The Undertaker and Yokozuna. Honestly, the match sells itself because of, well, the girth of Yokozuna and just the sheer presence of The Undertaker, but Yokozuna can wrestle much better than Giant Gonzalez. So this is a match that sells itself, and the pop when The Undertaker will win, it'll be brilliant. And so far, we have 2 face victories for 4 heel victories. With the 2 bigger ones, the 2 main eventers that have won, Undertaker and Hulk Hogan. Those are 2 main eventers that have won their match. Next is a bit of a break match. It's a chaotic affair between the Head Shrinkers and the Nasty Boys. This is basically going to be the plunder match that we have seen at the end of Raw, Raw number 9. Just make that, but at Mania, and have one spot at the end of the match that I want. I want Sags on a table. On a table, yes, in the ring on a table, and have a splash from Fatu to take down the Nasty Boys with that. Make this the big spot of the night, okay? This is the spot that goes into, that pushes this into a good match because of the fact that it is a chaos. It's chaotic as hell. But also, that table spot is not something that really happens a lot in 93. The first real table spot happens in 1995 in WWF, so we're 2 years early, but at the same time, ECW was starting to become a thing, and, I mean, you do chair shots anyway. I think a table bump is not out of the realm of possibilities, right? You do chair shots. Yeah, and the crowd would pop for it, definitely. Like, these teams are not that well engaged with the crowd, but look at the rating that I have in myself, 84%. These guys are not that involved. Like, they're not at the level of others. So I know this doesn't really count for the real life, but this, as chaotic as it is, normally you should still get a good crowd response because of it going everywhere and doing a lot of bullshit anyway, So there you go. That's what I will think about this match. And this is basically the third to last match, because then we have Mr. Perfect against the narcissist Lex Luger. This match should be a Lex Luger victory, because Mr. Perfect did not need to win the match. He did not. He was already established enough, and Lex Luger was coming in on the rise. However, This is a feud that desperately needed more action than it got in real life. Because in real life, it basically got nothing. Like, basically. Like, do you remember of a single real segment between Perfect and Luger that isn't having a match from Luger and them talking about Perfect in the background on the announce team? Yeah, there is none. On Raw, there is none. Maybe on Superstars or on Mania. But on Raw, there's nothing. And so, you just make them have things. What I will have is Mr. Perfect get in 2 matches and then have the Narcissist come out. Bang! Bionic elbow. Make Perfect go down. Sometimes in a DQ. Sometimes in not a DQ. And just into a clean victory for the heel. But still, give Narcissist and Perfect things to do. Just things to do for their match. Please. And so there you go. That's what I will do. That's what I would do for them. Right here. Have Perfect also come out for Narcissist matches and cost him a win. Once only. Gotta be careful about that. Don't want to give Luger too many losses, but only cost him 1 win. And then the rest be either DQs or countouts at worst. But mostly he's just gonna win the matches. And so there you go. That's how you build this match. During the match, you have a perfect plex, and Narcissist is close enough to the ropes to actually reach them. And so that leads to not having the match be ended with the perfect plex. Then Luger gets up, bionic elbow. Luger goes down. However, during the match, what I want is for Luger to work the arm. Work the arm again and again and again. And so the bionic elbow, once it is hit, actually is weak enough that Perfect can kick out of it. Protects the move, but at the same time gives Perfect that little bit of knowledge that he knows what the move does now at this point. And so he worked around a way to make it less effective. But even after that, Narcissist does take Luger Perfect on his shoulders. You know it, the torture rack. And so Narcissist knocks Perfect out during the move. And he goes down. Narcissist gets the win. 1, 2, 3, blah, blah. However you want to do it. With the pinky pin also if you want. Because pinky pin. Pinky pin. But there you go. That is our semi-main. And I think, again, if Perfect doesn't blank out on the match... I still can't believe this is a true story. Perfect completely blanked on the match layout during the match. And he was the one that had to call every move. And so that's why the match is kind of sluggish. It could have been so much better. It's unfortunate because these two could have good chemistry together. Like, really could. But this leads to our main event. You know what it is. You know what the result is going to be as well, normally. It is Bret Hart versus Randy Savage for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And this is all about RESPECT. I cannot do that voice right now. My throat hurts so much. I've been talking for 50 minutes, okay? Give me a break. But still, it should be a passing of the torch. That's all it should be. Just a passing of the torch between Bret Hart and Randy Savage. Make them do what they do best, which is wrestle. And also, on TV, make them wrestle. Even together at one point. I actually would have them in a 6-man tag team match. And I talked about it, actually, didn't I? I think I talked about it. So there you go. I would have them in a 6-man tag team match together in the match. Because they're both faces. And they both respect each other enough. And that leads to this massive main event between Bret Hart and Randy Savage. Just a chef's kiss of a match normally, you know. This should never be bad. It's 35-year-old Bret Hart versus only 40 years old Savage. This cannot be bad. There's no way that this match can be anything under a 3-star match. Anything under that does not exist. It can't. And so, instead, this has the potential to be a 5-star stealer. A 5-star show stealer. 100%. And Bret Hart does win with a sharpshooter, but Savage passes out in the move. Does not give up. He passes out in the move. Well, actually, now that I think about it, you could make him give up. Because of the fact that if you make him give up, it cements it even more towards the victory, you know, towards a passing of the torch. Whereas maybe passing out does not cement it as much. So maybe more just tapping from Savage would be something that would work. Maybe more. Maybe. Who knows? I still think, though, that there is a good amount of things to do with this. 100%. There's a good amount of things to do. And so, there you go. There you have it. This is my whole rebooking from beginning to end, from the first Raw on the 11th of January 1993 all the way to the 4th of April 1993 and WrestleMania IX. How did you think this was? Did you think I did good? Did you think I did badly? Did you think that this video was way too long, which it kind of was? Don't worry, normally the next one should be shorter, because this time I had 2 pay-per-views to review, whereas for the next one I should only have 1 pay-per-view to review. So things should be a little bit better and more aired out as well. So maybe I can come up with better ways as well due to build matches. But the next time we will see each other is right before the King of the Ring, and I hope to see you guys then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.